Hi y'all, what's up? My name is Micah. I am 27 years old and I am from a little town in Kentucky. This is my first YouTube video and I just wanted to come on and introduce myself and kind of tell you all the road that I have been on as far as competing in the NPC Bikini division goes. So my background, first of all, I'm a registered nurse. I became a nurse when I was 20 years old, and I had been working for almost 7 years as a nurse. I graduated in 2012 with my registered nursing license, passed my boards and everything. So I have been working, and it is now January of 2019, almost February. Tomorrow is February. So I work on the night shift, and I have worked both shifts, day shift and night shift. And honestly, I like night shift better. And it might sound crazy to some people that don't understand, but for me, competing is almost impossible working on day shift. After working 13 hours most days, sometimes 14, even longer, I'm just not motivated after work to go to the gym. So working on night shift allows me to wake up at like 2:30 in the morning or in the afternoon, my morning, and go to the gym. But it's different. If you're working day shift, you can't wake up at 2:30 in the morning. Anyways, to make a long story short, I thrive on night shift, and a lot of people don't understand it, but for me, it works. Anyways, so I got into competing in 2013. I went to a couple shows in 2012 and watched them, and I really just fell in love with the sport. I loved the way that those girls were on stage, and I loved the way they looked and presented themselves with poise, and their physiques were phenomenal. So I wanted to look like that. I'm 5'1", and at that point, I think my weight was 145 maybe. I'll insert my little starting picture right there. I started at about 145, and actually I may have been 149, I can't remember exact, but anyways, I was kind of frumpy, if you will. 149 on a 5'1" body frame is not healthy, for one, and for two, I just did not like the way I looked. Some people carry their weight a little differently, and some people can pull off that, but I was not one of those in my place. So I started not training, but working out a couple years before that. Nothing serious. I played volleyball through high school, all through college, but it just wasn't working out, I guess you could call it. So the last year of my college year, I actually graduated as a junior in college. I started working out and lifting weights. I didn't eat right at all. I still ate what I wanted because I thought, hey, I'm in the gym burning calories, I'm gonna look better, but that's not how it worked for me. I did lose a little bit of the beginner's weight, if you will, but as far as like toning, if that's what you want to call it, that didn't happen for me. Some people are lucky, but I'm not one of those. So I started really lifting in about 2012 because I was like, I really want to look like those girls, and I think that I can do that. So I hired a coach, and we worked together for I'd say every bit of 3 years or so, and I had him get me ready for my first show. That was the Kentucky State Open in 2013 in August, and that show was near and dear to my heart because it was in my hometown, and my first show, obviously, but it was a miserable fail. I didn't know how to pose. My suit choice was awful. The color was terrible. It did not go with my skin tone at all. My hair and makeup, it was just bad. And I'll put another picture there. I made a lot of rookie mistakes. I did hire a posing coach. Most first-time competitors back then did not hire coaches. But I did, and I just wasn't confident enough in my stage appearance because I was nervous. It was my first show. I was stiff as a board, and you can tell it in all of my pictures. I ended up placing 16th out of like 18 or 19 girls, but if you know anything about NPC Bikini, 16th, there is nothing lower than 16. So you can have 50 girls in a class, and once you get to 16, everybody places 16th. So that's just the way the scoring of the judges go. That's the maximum amount of points you can have. There's really no telling what I placed. I could probably tell you I placed dead last and be totally okay with that because I know in my heart it was a miserable fail for me. So after that, I decided that I wanted to try again, I think in October, at the Turkey Jackson Classic, which was 20 miles from my house and maybe 30. But I don't think I placed higher than 13th or 14th. And there were a lot of girls in my class, and I may have even placed 16th again. But anyways, that show, I felt like I looked better. I presented myself better. Then I tried again in November, which was only a few weeks later, and I looked better. I feel like I got better with every show that I did. But again, wasn't good enough to make top 5. So I can't recall every single show that I have done right off the top of my head without writing it down and doing research and all that stuff. But every show I did get better with the exception of one. There was, I think, 2015 at the Derby Classic in Louisville. I was the last one left on stage. There were 6 girls in my class, and of course they only do top 5. So I was the only one left, and it was super, super embarrassing. So I took a year off and came back that next April, and it may have been a year, but I hired a new coach, and she got me ready for that show, and I looked much better. That was probably my best package, of course, before I took a couple years off. I took 2 years off. So April of 2016 was my last show, and I gained a lot of weight. I switched, from night shift to day shift, so I wasn't working out like I should have been. I wasn't eating right like I was. I was eating pretty much whatever I wanted. If you know anything about nurses, they will preach health, but then they will do whatever they want. They'll eat horrible. They'll not exercise like they preach to their patients. So anyways, I became one of those. My weight got back up to 145, and my lowest stage weight was 113. That was my third show at the Kentucky Muscle in November of 2013. My weight got back up to like 145, and I was tired. I didn't feel good. I kept getting headaches. I just felt like my health was suffering. So I decided January of 2018 to get back at it. So I got in contact with my coach. Her name is Nicole. She was the same one that prepped me for my Derby show in 2016. I had never changed coaches throughout that time. I still kept in contact with her. Every now and then I'd send her a check-in. And bless her heart, she's so sweet. She's very honest, but she doesn't want to hurt your feelings, I feel like. So it was really cute. Every time I'd send her like a fat picture of myself, she's just so cute. But anyways, I finally decided in the end of 2017 that 2018 was going to be my comeback year. And I made a commitment to myself, and I just set out a New Year's resolution to take myself and my health into consideration with everything that I did. So with that being said, January 2nd was my first check-in day with Nicole. And my starting weight then, I had dieted for like a whole week. before. So my check-in weight with her then I think was like 142. So I lost a couple pounds of water, which is to be expected with first little bit of dieting. So my true weight I think was 143. And my starting picture, it was really embarrassing. I could not believe that I let myself get that out of control, because I had developed this habit and I developed this lifestyle that I fell in love with, and I let it go. So last year I decided that I wanted to go out of state, get in front of some new judges and put my name out there a little bit more. I decided on the southern states in Fort Lauderdale, Florida, and that was July 14th of 2018. And I trained my heart out. I mean, I think I was so dead set on this show the moment we decided on it. I booked my flight in January and the show wasn't till July. I booked my hotel in January, and I sent in my entry form in February, booked my tan in February, you name it, the whole 9 yards. Got a new suit that came in, I believe, in April, and I was just so excited. So I trained my heart out for it. I think that was the best that I had been since that point. And I got down there, met some amazing people, and I'll make this another YouTube video, but I got some great opportunities while I was down there. I was interviewed by Strength Addicts and, developed a good relationship with him. So to make a long story short, I ended up not placing in that show as well, but just knowing that I was able to step back on stage again after taking 2 years off and letting myself go so bad, I felt really good in my heart. And I will put my before picture and my after picture. So I felt like I did pretty well considering not placing top 5, which, I went down there not expecting anything because it was my first show back. And, given my history, I've only placed at one of my other shows, at one show up until this point. So I wasn't really expecting anything, but I wanted to be the best that I could be. So that's what I set out to do. So after that, I was satisfied with my appearance on stage as far as my ability to come back. I knew that my metabolism had reset and done what it was supposed to do, and I knew that I had that fire lit back under me. So I decided to come back home and compete in my home state Kentucky Open again. So with the Kentucky Open, they tore down our convention center at home, and that was kind of really upsetting for all of us, for the promoters, for the competitors, just because it was, so close, near and dear to my heart, and it was also my first show. So for them to tear down the convention center, it was really sad to me, but I still wanted to compete in their show because that show is amazing. It's probably my most favorite show that I've ever competed in up until this point. And I think I've done their show 3 times now. But anyways, so I prepped for that show, gave it my all. I thought my metabolism was going to start slowing back down because I wasn't really responding as well after the July prep for the southern states. I did take 1 week. I did a reverse diet, but I allowed myself one small something every day just to kind of relax my mind and give myself that freedom. But that 1 week, I realized that okay, you can't really out-train a bad diet, so I had to jump back on it 100%. And it wasn't like I was overeating by any means, but if I wanted a slice of pizza one day I'd work it into my macros. You know, I would, but that was just the 1 week that really set me back, I feel like. So anyways, I had about 5 weeks, I want to say, between the Florida show and the Kentucky Open. And after that week, I trained my butt off for it, and I gave it everything that I had. So I went to, it was actually out of town. It was in Covington, Kentucky. And my boyfriend had to work, so I actually had to go by myself. I booked my tan, the hotel, the whole 9 yards the moment I decided that I wanted to do that show. I'm kind of the jump and start kind of person. I booked my hotel. I got there and it was so nice. It was so relaxing. My view was amazing. I had a view over the river and everything. Went and got my tan. I just felt at ease. Like everything felt right. You know, you hear people talk about, you know, this was my moment. This was the moment that I've been waiting for. Everything felt so right. Well, this was it for me. When I got there, I just felt so relaxed and so satisfied that I made it again. And I think that's what does it for me. I got my tan. I went back to my room, you know, recorded a couple of things for Instagram, and I went to bed. It was like 10 o'clock when I went to bed, and I never go to bed that early. I'm a night shifter. But it just, everything fell into place exactly how it needed to. I got the sleep I needed to. I got up in the morning. You know, I did my own hair. I did my own makeup. Of course, I wore it straight. You'd never see my hair curly if I did it. It would be awful. But I did my makeup, and I walked over to the venue. It was pouring down rain. Imagine that. If you know anything about tans for these bodybuilding shows, you cannot get wet because it will show. Every little speck, every drop, everything. But it was pouring down rain. I forgot my umbrella, so I had to go back into the hotel, grab an extra sheet, put pillowcases over my arms, and I ran across the street to the convention center. So I got in there, and I was, you know, in my own little world, which doesn't ever happen at these shows because you meet so many amazing people backstage, and you develop these friendships and you have these conversations with these people, and they feel like they've been your friends for years because you have so much in common. But this show, I was in my own world. I had my headphones in, and you know, you see all these IFBB pros putting their headphones on and just getting in their own zone, they call it. So that's kind of what I did, and I see why they do it now. You know, they they focus on what they need to do, and that's what I did. I propped my feet up, listened to my music, and just waited for stage time. Now, I did talk to some people, and they were amazing backstage, and as we were lining up, I just felt like this is my moment, you know. So I walk on stage, I was confident, I knew that I had worked hard, and this was my best package to date, and I ended up taking first in novice, the Kentucky State Open, and the Open I placed second. And as soon as I stepped off stage, the first class, I barely had time to text, you know, my boyfriend, and my dad was like, "Oh my God, I can't believe this." And they were already calling me back for the second class. So after that second class, after that first class had finished, I had to go right back up for the overall. And I had never, ever, ever been in the overall. I've never been even close to physique ready to be in an overall, considered even. So that alone, I stepped off stage and started crying. I was like in such a state of shock. It was a good cry. But of course, I didn't take overall, which was fine. just knowing that I made it that far was such a huge improvement from my previous years competing. So I went back up for my second class and took first in that as well. And I was like, oh my gosh, I can't believe this. So I went back up for another overall. Didn't get that either, but that's okay. Like I said, I was satisfied. And then I placed second in the open. And I was more than happy because that was the largest class. So, you know, coming off of that show, it was such an amazing feeling. It just felt right to me. So after that show, I decided that I was going to take just a little bit of time to kind of relax and reverse diet and, you know, focus on what I needed to improve. I got some feedback from the judges at the Florida show and the Kentucky State Open, and they just said focus on leaning your legs down a little bit and rounding your delts just a tad. That's what I set out to do within those couple months off, and then I got a wild hair and decided to compete in the Arnold Amateur this year. February 28th is pre-judging, and I want to set my sights a little higher. This is going to be my first big stage, and I am working my butt off, and I'm just going to be happy to know that I have set my goals a little higher this time. So that's a little bit about my background as far as competing goes, and I'm going to make a separate video about the last 4 weeks of my Arnold prep, which starts today. So thanks for watching, and I really appreciate everybody who supports me. If you don't already, follow me on Instagram. My IG handle is MicahDawn_NPC_Bikini. So yeah, thanks for watching.